Eyewitness News is next, and tonight a breaking story at a Bronx hospital. A baby may have been kidnapped. Bronx Congressman Mario Biaggi is indicted on federal racketeering charges, which he angrily denounces. And a doctor at Harlem Hospital charges that he was attacked by a police officer in the hospital emergency room.
A new tirade by Donald Trump against Mayor Koch. Wait till you hear what Trump called the mayor this time. And it's the movie version of the old TV series The Untouchables, starring Robert De Niro. Joel Siegel will have his review. That and much more next on Eyewitness News.
Is the fairy tale wedding of the century breaking apart? See what you think after you read this week's People. People celebrates People and shows how Charles and Di are simply going their separate ways. Then People brings you new pictures from the Beatles' Sgt. Pepper album on its 20th anniversary. The bare facts behind Susanna Hoffs' movie, The All-Nighter. How excess put Jim and Tammy Baker's empire on the block. And so much more. Week after week, People celebrates People. This week, Charles and Di. Trouble in Paradise?
1, 2, 3, go there if you dare with Bikini Bear.
Bikini Bear French Foam Depilatory with aloe and collagen. Foams on fast, light, fluffy. And for the delicate bikini area, say goodbye to razor stubble with the original Bikini Bear Cream Depilatory Kit, containing Bikini Bear Cream for hair removal, plus Bikini Bear Finishing Cream for after hair removal skincare, with nature's own healant, aloe.
Go fair as you dare, there with Bikini Bear.
It's Primetime Jeopardy tonight at 7 here on 7. You're watching Channel 7 Eyewitness News with Ernie Anastos and Kaity Tong. Eli Zared has sports, Storm Field with weather, and the Eyewitness News team. Now, Eyewitness News.
Good evening. A breaking story in the Bronx. A 2.5-week-old infant is missing and feared kidnapped from Lincoln Hospital. Police are combing the area at this hour. Jim Dolan rushed to the scene. He's standing by now with the very latest on this. Jim?
Kaity, all of the information we have is still breaking, but let me give you the rundown on what we have now. 19-day-old Emily Diaz was brought here to Lincoln Medical Center on Monday. Her parents were complaining that the baby had a high fever. Today, she was supposed to be discharged, whatever problems she had solved. But when the father got here at about 6:15, Emily was not in her crib. So the father, Israel Diaz, went upstairs to the doctor's office, the doctor who was in charge, and the doctor started to try to find out where the baby was.
And, well, he asked the nurses who was the last one to feed the baby. And then nobody knew who was the last one to see the baby, and they told me that a lady wearing white pants or white shoes and a red blouse claimed to be the mother of the baby and said that she was going to take her out for a walk.
How is your wife?
Well, she's hysterical. And she, it's very difficult for us right now.
As you might imagine, it is a very difficult time for the Diaz family right now. That woman wearing, again, a red blouse, a white pants and shoes, claimed to be Emily's mother. She told the nurses she was going to take the baby for a walk. Emily has not been seen since. Police are talking to the nurses right now who saw that woman to try to get a better description, a more complete description. That is still forthcoming. The police were not called until an hour after the baby was found missing. The reason for that is not yet clear. The hospital claims that they were doing an investigation, an internal investigation, to find out if the baby was still inside the hospital. One problem in this investigation is that there is no still photograph of the baby. There is a videotape, a short videotape that was taken just a few days ago, but there is no still photograph of the baby, and that may cause problems in the investigation. We will have more details as they become available. Reporting live, Jim Dolan, Channel 7 Eyewitness News. Kaity?
All right, thank you, Jim. And tonight, another tragedy. Children trapped in a fire. A 7-month-old baby girl, her 5-year-old sister, and 3-year-old brother trapped by fire in their East Flatbush home. The baby, Christina Heald, was killed in the fire that broke out about 10 o'clock this morning. Her sister, 5-year-old Antoinette Heald, rushed from the burning apartment screaming for help. The police were looking into the whereabouts of the children's mother when the fire broke out. Their father was at work. The surviving children have been turned over to the Bureau of Child Welfare. And the fire department told Eyewitness News tonight that 33 children have died unattended in fires since 1983. Kaity?
Bronx Congressman Mario Biaggi and 6 others are under indictment tonight in the WedTech bribery corruption scandal. As Lewisham reports, the company might be trying to get back on its feet, but several public and professional careers may be in serious jeopardy.
WedTech is still in business tonight, but it has been taken off the New York Stock Exchange, and it labors now under a cloud of corruption. Indictments were handed down today in Manhattan. WedTech, a federal grand jury says, is a corrupt enterprise that bribed the likes of Congressman Mario Biaggi, Bronx Borough President Stanley Simon, Biaggi's son Richard, and a former National Guard General Bernard Ehrlich. The indictments say WedTech co-founder John Marietta arranged millions in stock and cash to be paid out in return for help in getting U.S. government defense contracts. At one time, the contracts amounted to 90% of WedTech's business.
WedTech was the proverbial American success story. These charges raise serious questions about the way we practice politics and conduct business in the city, state, and nation.
WedTech is the same scandal that implicated Giuliani's boss, Attorney General Edwin Meese, as a possible wrongdoer. A special prosecutor has been appointed in Washington for that, but I asked Giuliani if he can overlook his boss's interest in the case.
My office, I'm confident that my office can do anything, but that's probably one of my weaknesses.
Biaggi, Stanley Simon, and the 5 others will be arraigned in federal court next week, but that's not the end. The feds tell us to expect more indictments in this, the WedTech case, just getting underway tonight. Louis Young, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
I'm Sarah Wallace. Tonight in Mario Biaggi's Bronx district, they were standing by their representative.
I'm upset, but I feel that he was done an injustice.
I guess he'll get his day in court and he'll be proven innocent.
I think he's the best.
Mario Biaggi's public life has always been one of duality. On the one hand, there is the image of the ultimate citizen and statesman. On the other hand, a darker picture of a man tainted with a hint of scandal. As a New York City cop for 23 years, Biaggi earned a record number of citations, including the department's highest award after he killed a gunman during a holdup in Biaggi's car. But there were questions surrounding Biaggi's version of the shooting, and the Bronx DA investigated. No charges were brought. Biaggi became a congressman in 1968, but a 1973 bid for New York City mayor almost destroyed him politically. He lied about questions concerning his personal finances that came before a grand jury and later faced an IRS investigation. Again, no charges were brought. Finally, last March, Biaggi was indicted for reportedly accepting a vacation in return for influence peddling for a Brooklyn Navy Yard. And today came WedTech. But as he's done in the past, when the going gets tough, Biaggi toughens for a fight.
I've always maintained my innocence. I took a lie detector test and passed it, and we asked the prosecutor to have me take theirs, here in New York and in Washington. And so far, there's been no response.
Biaggi is not expected to step down while the legal case against him goes on. But even if he is cleared, many observers think that the political damage to his career this time is just too serious to overcome. From the Bronx, Sarah Wallace, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
Not indicted today, Biaggi's Bronx colleague, Congressman Robert Garcia. It has been reported that he and his wife are under investigation for possible bribe-taking in connection with WedTech. It has also been reported that the Garcia indictment has been postponed pending further inquiry.
The battle between developer Donald Trump and Mayor Koch continues. The fight is over a plan by Trump to build a new home for NBC on Manhattan's West Side. Trump says that Koch and the city will reject his new offer, and he had a few other things to say about the Koch administration.
The city of New York really has become a cesspool. It's become a cesspool of corruption. It's become a cesspool of incompetence.
For his part, Mayor Koch appeared to welcome the Trump plan to keep NBC in the city. As far as the attack is concerned, he's quiet.
I have no intention of allowing this important matter to degenerate into a barnyard kind of contest.
NBC is threatening to leave its current Rockefeller Center headquarters. Developer Trump says that he is not threatening to make a run for City Hall.
Tonight, a doctor at Harlem Hospital is charging that he was roughed up and insulted by a New York City police officer. The doctor says the attack took place in the hospital. We have more now from Tappy Phillips.
His boss told him to keep his mouth shut until the investigation is over, but Dr. James Gibson is furious. He says a white police officer threatened his life here at Harlem Hospital, where Gibson is a first-year resident. Say them, yeah.
He called me mother, nigger, ass, punk, and a few other ones that I just can't remember right now. Those were the few that I can remember. I turned back and I said, "Officer, names do not hurt me and never will hurt me." At that point, the officer came forward to me, put his finger in my face, stepped back. I said, "Remove your hand from my face." I lifted my hand to remove it. He grabbed my hand, forced it to my chest, pinned me against the wall, and pulled his revolver out of his holster.
Gibson was treating a patient whom 3 police officers had brought in after being hit in the forehead twice with a hammer. They were in X-ray, and the patient was handcuffed to a stretcher. Gibson said he told the officers not to let the patient up while Gibson left the room. But when he returned, he said the patient was standing, being fingerprinted.
In any medical facility anywhere, the protocol treatment for head injury, which this was to keep a patient lying down.
What happens if it's a serious injury and
the patient can fall down, the patient can become syncopal and faint, the patient can all of a sudden die.
Gibson said when he objected to the patient being up, the officer allegedly assaulted him. The police officer involved is still on duty here at the 25th Precinct in East Harlem. Police spokesman won't say much about the incident, except that it is under investigation by their internal affairs unit, and if they find that the officer was in the wrong, that he will be disciplined. In East Harlem, Tappy Phillips, Channel 7 Eyewitness News.
The Health and Hospitals Corporation is also investigating the charges. Ernie?
Coming up next in Eyewitness News, new charges as the man who controlled the purse strings testifies at the Iran-Contra hearings.
And the world loses a great musician.